A lot of reserve time being used up in this draft, I've got to say. Both teams obviously taking this matchup very seriously, at least for game one. A lot of thinking going on. Of course, the Clockwork can be very nice into that Shadow Shaman. Always fun to play Clockwork when you have such an easy target to go after. You really can't do anything to stop you either. Apart from maybe buy a 4-star. But SG Esports, they'll go into an Ember Spirit pick now. And well, now you can kind of assume that either the Death Prophet's going to the off lane, or they're running a very kind of weird support DP. But I can't say we've seen much support Death Prophet from the South American region, so I would assume it should just be an off-lane DP we're seeing here, and maybe throw the Ember mid. But I've got to admit, that is quite quick to pick up your mid-Ember. So it kind of makes me believe that maybe, just maybe, we're seeing a return of the position for Ember Spirit.
It's a possibility for SG Esports, maybe even, say, a pause 1 Ember that we've seen before, but that's much, much rarer. You have options there for flexibility. The key thing with the Ember pickup is that you don't have any direct counters on the supports. Rubik, Clockwork don't pin you down. You can dodge a lot of the spells. Even the Mars Spear is not reliable against an Ember, so you have a lot of leeway in getting in and out there. You see 5ManMidas going for the Shadow Fiend for DNM, so that's definitely their mid. It looks like they're expecting either the Ember or DP mid, and the Shadow Fiend can kind of hold its own there, get its own farm up. You have some great nuking potential, and well, I would say level 1 Roche, but you don't have a Keeper of the Light, so that's a bit trickier. But it would have been nice to see that combination. You know, I would have loved to see it in a pro game, but you have the potential, I guess, on paper, but without the coddle, you can't really.
SG Esports into the Wraith King now, so just securing their own position 1. We haven't really seen the pause 1 of 5ManMidas yet, but, you know, Wraith King generally doesn't care too much about what he's up against, as long as he can just hit them. And speaking of hitting them, they might want to ban out PA here for SG Esports, just to make sure that they're not going to run into that pause 1 Phantom Assassin. Even then, I think the Wraith King doesn't mind too much, but obviously you're not a natural MKB carrier. You could go for it, but it doesn't feel as amazing as saying go for the Radiance instead. Just running with that. For now though, SG, they get rid of the Monkey King. Which I suppose if you're going to run a mid-Ember or even a mid-DP, maybe being able to flex the Monkey King would be a bit annoying for SG Esports. Of course, later on, even into the Wraith King, Wukong's command does kind of ruin the Wraith King. And now they actually end up banning out the Lycan themselves, so not confident in their wave clear. They get rid of the Lycan on SG Esports, not wanting to have that annoying cheese pick on 5ManMidas, which is fair enough. Still a very popular hero.
Yeah, preventing themselves from getting run down. I think the Monkey King ban-out is really good as well because you have great AoE on 5ManMidas. Arena plus Wukong's command is deadly. And you even have this Requiem into Arena combination, right? You have the Fear coming out, so you can potentially bump these heroes into the wall to get more damage, get more value out there. So, looking good on 5ManMidas in terms of actually getting these team fights off, as long as they don't get too controlled by the Shadow Shaman, and as long as they don't force fights under Exorcism, which is the big timer for SG Esports. They do ban out offlaners here on the side of SG on the side of 5ManMidas, so SG Esports looks like they're expected to go for the pause 5 DP or pause 4 DP with a pause 5 or pause 4 Shadow Shaman, which again we have seen here and there, but not too much from the SA teams. They do go for the Tide Hunter and SG Esports end, so it's really bulky for SG Esports. Wraith King up front, Tide Hunter up front. They've got great team fight now with Ravage, which they were kind of lacking, and they have really good timings to play around. They're tied into Exorcism and Ravage in terms of cooldowns, but I don't think it's a major issue for them, as they can farm up really well in the downtime. Wraith King and Ember can just build up, try to get that item advantage up. 5ManMidas do want to force these teams fights faster, and they do go with Weaver. So that Weaver does have a good time against Tide. We've seen this lane before. It is slightly back and forth. Sometimes the Weaver jumps in and gets Anchor smashed out, but it looks like it is DNM on Weaver. So Lice has moved down to mid, and DNM gets to play his safe lane, which we haven't seen in a while. I think on Sad Boys, of course, he was playing mid, but he is traditionally, I think, in his own terms, he is a hard carry player. So a much more comfy spot for DNM. And again, he's got a lane matchup that he can play with, although he has to be careful with that Shikuchi.
going to be a very interesting matchup between these two. We'll see who does come out on top. But this will be game 1 of a BO2 between SG Esports and 5ManMidas. You know, personally, John, looking at the SG Esports side, I kind of do go towards their draft a little bit more. I'm curious to see how you feel about it. Do you favor SG Esports' draft? Do you think 5ManMidas has the better draft? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking SG Esports as well. I think even if they're cooldown reliant, like we're looking at DP support, exorcism timing, Tavo's Ravages have to be on point. They do have great scalability. They do have great control already for the Weaver. Just Shadow Shaman alone is kind of a good way to deal with Weaver. 5ManMidas, they're not cooldown reliant, but they have to force these cooldowns every single time. They want to play when they have Requiem, especially if our SF goes for Blink or Yule. So you really want to get these early fights rolling. You have to get those arenas in a big way and start finding yourself some early kills to punish that downtime on SG Esports. If you don't, they're going to farm up really well. You've got Raid King and Ember. Even the Tide Hunter can dip into the jungle efficiently. So you don't want to allow that farming game to come out for SG Esports. And I think that does give more pressure here on 5ManMidas to take that active role. And we'll see if they'll be able to as we do go into the game. And should be, again, very interesting to see. SG Esports really want those wins to climb up into the upper half of their group and potentially, if the stars align, potentially go into the upper bracket. So they are going to play all out for this. 5ManMidas, they've had a lot of roster shakeups. They're playing with 2 stand-ins. They've shifted roles as well, which is a major factor for Lies. We'll have to see if it does hold up. And they do smoke up early, looking for a level 1 play.
See if they can find something. They might run straight into Tavo. They've got the high ground now. Preferably, you'd go after Thea Lacour here, as he is going to be a much easier target. But Tavo won't be too hard either. Borko going to rush in. They haven't seen him yet. Now they will, and they'll know they're in trouble. Tavo was not expecting it, and the body blocks are there from Borko. Tavo, still alive, but eventually is going to die. Because Thea Lacour really couldn't do anything to help with the Ether Shock. It'll be a very nice start for 5ManMidas.
Yeah, they get first blood on Eichster, which is always a nice injection onto Rubik, and does kind of set themselves up for a good time. They should still be able to find these power runes, but they have to be a bit cautious.
You gotta be careful about that. Maybe just a bit of miscommunication, but DNM's gonna run in. He doesn't get the bounty either. And now he's gonna be forced to take a lot of harassment here from KJ and Thea Lacour. But he's gonna be just fine. He'll Sakuchi his way back up to the top lane. It's like everyone else from 5ManMidas is also okay.
I'll help my weak and puny allies where I can.
Gonna be enough. Tavo, Thea Lacour, back up to the top lane. Of course, they are going to be up against still Borko and DNM.
Yeah, and this Weaver Clockwork lane isn't that potent. Like, maybe Steel Borko finds the angle, gets the Battery Assault and the cogs off, and you can easily lay in as DNM, but DNM also has to be a bit cautious. Like, every time he Shikuchi's in, Anchor Smash flies up, and he comps so much damage. You can't underestimate the damage from early level Ether Shock as well. So DNM's going to have to be a bit cautious, as Clockwork on 5, or any role of support really, takes level 2 to really be able to trade. And right now, Teolakur is doing a good job of just twacking onto DNM. His low range doesn't matter against Weaver, because Weaver as well doesn't have the best attack range, so very easy for him to trade favorably in terms of harassment.
Yeah, and I suppose this is why still Borko went for the brown boots to start off on the +5 clock. It can be considered a little bit greedy. I think the idea from still Borko here is that with these brown boots, he can kill off Thea Lacour quite easily on the Shaman. The only problem being, though, is if he can't really do that, still Borko, he doesn't have any regen. So if he can't get close to get the Battery Assault off, Thea Lacour is just going to be able to harass him out. He tries to go for the Battery Assault now, but Theo is being quite clever in the way he positions himself by the creep wave in near Tavo to make sure that still Borko does not feel comfortable moving up for the Battery Assault. You can already see he's queued up 2 salves in preparation for a tough lane. I think it is probably going to be that way for the Clockwork.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky. At the least, he's got good presence in rotating down to mid, let's say, and contesting power runes, and we'll see if that is the case. As we can take a look down mid in this downtime. You've got 4DR up there on his Ember, laning up against Lies on the SF, and so far it's been rather even, back and forth trades on farm. Lies is forced to pop his mangoes to maintain his farming efficiency, and that's where it kind of stands out. The Ember, much more low committal on getting his Flame Guard up. You can block some damage off from the SF. You can get some dodge capability as well with the Sleight of Fist. So it's a bit trickier for Lies to win the trade, but he should still find that steady farm. Of course, power runes are so important for both sides. There was a bit of a chase from Steel Barco onto Teolacor, but with Teolacor having his own boots up, it's harder to gap close Clockwork now.
Yeah, and that's why I was kind of disagreeing with the brown boots pick up there on the clock. At least for now. Obviously later on you feel kind of good about it, but for now it doesn't really do anything for you or DNM. As you can see, DNM is probably going to require a lot of regen regardless of what he's playing. While we have a second, we'll have a look at the final lane, which is the bot lane where we do see Extra and Monster laning together up against Costa Bile. You also have KJ on the Death Prophet playing that position 5 role. He's going to be able to get a nice small camp pull off, and for now everything is going very smoothly for SG Esports. No real pressure being applied on this Wraith King. They're basically winning every single lane apart from the mid lane, which is quite even. And it looks like Borko is about to drop on the clock, but he barely survives at the top lane. So this safe lane for 5MM already looking a bit rough.
Yeah, it's not easy. In fact, I'm not sure if you'd actually want to live if you're Steel Borko. He's ferrying out a salve, but he has to walk back to base anyway. So it might have saved him time to just die, respawn, TP in with a salve, and help reset for the side of 5ManMidas. You know, get that regen faster onto DNM. There's a lot of downtime here where Tavo is just one-on-one against Weaver. And sure, DNM finds some farm, but anytime Teolacor just comes up, he's got the shackles up. They could easily just punish DNM for staying in that lane, and it's been a rather slow start for the Weaver. And this could be an issue because Weaver doesn't flash farm the same way a Wraith King does for the Skeleton Summon, so you will have to watch yourself in that lane.
Bot lane, Monster barely survives on the Mars. They weren't able to hold him down long enough, and he got a nice spear off onto Costa Bile. Problem is, it looks like Monster has no regen either. And neither does Egster, so he's kind of stuck running all the way back to the base on this Mars. And John, he's got nothing. He doesn't even have brown boots up yet on this Mars. So this is a very slow walk up. And this is around the 5-minute bounty rune timing as well, so he won't be there to contest those either. Which means that both bounty runes down at the bot lane are going to go to SG Esports. And the top lane will probably be the same. Teolacor is going to at least get one. Still Borko going to try and get a kill and get the second. But instead of him going, 4DR is going to take it. So now 4 bounty runes.
Ooh,
and still Borko dies?
He dived! He dived when the creep wave was coming in. You can tell, you know, by the mirror. You can tell where your creep wave is as well, and the enemy creep wave. And he just overcommits for Teolacor. It looked like a bit of frustration. And I want to point out this with Monster. You mentioned he had nothing. He had the bottle. But he was walking back home and gave the bottle to Exter, which meant that he didn't even get the bounty rune refill, so he had to TP refill it for himself. Just not the most efficient plays here from 5ManMidas and SG. Even if it's 1-to-1, rather even in that regard. There's a 2k lead on hand. 4DR got the power rune. KJ has secured the next power rune as well. So it's just really slow. And Lies is up ahead in farm, but this is an SF. You can clear out camps a lot faster and clear out those creep waves a lot faster with level 3 Shadow Rays, but you have to watch the 6 timing on 4DR. He could easily look for some side lane rotations and find some pickoffs.
Yeah, especially with that Arcane rune he does have in the bottle right now. Definitely a pretty big possibility here with 4DR. I expect him to make those rotations pretty soon. That being said, every lane's going so well for SG Esports, he probably doesn't feel the need to. I think everything's just going smoothly enough that he doesn't think he needs to rotate yet, which is kind of true. As long as everything goes fine, he just needs to keep farming.
Yeah, there's nothing to force him out just yet. You can see Tavo's already leveled 6 as well, and he goes for the Falcon Blade Tide. Like, we don't see that too often, but He's so
like
far
it.
ahead, I don't think it hurts him too much. Yeah, the mana regen's good. The HP, of course, the durability it gives you is a lot better. So you have to be a bit cautious because they could play with Ravage if they wanted to. Weaver is hard to catch out, though. But you're still slowing down DNM's farm, and he is lagging severely behind compared to costability. That's a difference of 11 creeps from these safe laners.
On the bright side, for 5ManMidas, they got the reincarnation life, but now the Rubik's going to be in trouble. DNM's going to be forced to rotate and try and help out, and they'll try to get the kill onto this Wraith King. He's on the run, and it looks like he is going to be fast enough with those phase boots. KJ, will he be as lucky? Yes, he will. He's fine. So DNM, he's already rotated to probably go after that tier 1 tower. But they don't have a siege creep, and while all that's happening, top lane still Borko is going to die on the clockwork. And unlike the Weaver, Costabile with the skeletons can push quite quickly, even without siege creep.
Yeah, it can go really fast. He needs to build up the army, though, as he did pop it down bot. But they should be able to go for that tower trade, although they do lose KJ.
He's still going, he's
No?
alive, very fire there, he does finally go down. DNM going to be okay to
Tavo.
Scoochie out.
He's blocked. He's blocked. Tavo. The creep blocked this way he couldn't go for the Ravage.
You saw how much damage Tavo did though to DNM, right? Like, it's actually a lot of damage, and now DNM's lost his treads. Oh boy. That hurts for a Weaver. Like, if you're gonna buy the treads in the first place, you want to use them to be able to farm quicker. And to waste all that gold and not have it up, it's not a nice feeling. Not for the Weaver.
No. No, it's a slow game for DNM. Like, this just gives him no relief in lane. He still has to face against this Tidehunter who kind of just matches his lane swap. Of course, you have Monster trying to relieve that top lane here as well from Costabile, but he doesn't care too much. They've opened up the map by taking that top tier 1, opening up the forward top jungle for Costabile to just clear out. And they still have these ults to play with. Tavo still has Ravage if they want to force fights. You've got major spikes on 4DR, and they are looking for a smoke play here.
Ekster to move in. Chains is there. They're going to drop the arena into the spear. You've still got the Shaman for control, but he only had the level 1 Hex. So now Theolacour going to be in danger and should drop. Ekster also just remaining alive as 4DR is trying to chase him down, but he's kind of lacking damage on this Ember. He's just going to have to go the other way, but Lias was waiting around with still Borko. They don't get him, however. He's still just fine. With this clock still at level 3, you can't really do much in the way of catching out 4DR. On the bright side, though, they don't lose anyone for 5ManMidas, and they do get rather a Shaman kill.
It's a nice pickup in the end. They might lose Steel Borko if he's not careful, but does manage to get away. Still another power rune going the way of 4DR, and we've seen this happen before with mid matchups. Like, if you keep losing that power rune, you just don't get the value from your bottle. They do at least get their bounty runes up, and Lies is farming a lot faster now compared to 4DR. So you're seeing the SF effect take place. He's clearing out his camps. He's clearing out the waves faster. They could look to play. The Yules is, I believe, flying out now for Lies, so it's a major spike in the SF, and they can actually force fights. They're going to set their eyes for that bot tier 1 first, but they're losing their mid tier 1 if they're not careful.
They are. Not going to be hard either with this exorcism going. Tavo just frontlining there on the Tide, and with this kind of right-click build Tide, the Phase Boots and the Falcon Blade, you can't really go up to him. He's a little bit too scary with that kill potential. 5ManMidas, they don't really find a trade. KJ may get caught. Lies has the Yule Scepter, but the Ravage comes out into the Shackle, and they're going to lose the SF. They might find KJ, but it's nowhere near worth it. Still Borko, still being chased down. They need more. They need a lot more for this. Hex up again on the Mars into the Shackle. Can they cancel in time? They get the lift off. Monster's still alive, but he is going to die to 4DR. Now TNM trying to fight back. He is still going to be just fine as he kills off Theolacour, but they might lose still Borko, and they will. DNM going to go back in for Tavo. But he's going to hang around those wards and the Sleight of Fist now from the Rubik, but still 4DR holding back DNM. And Akestar, he was trying to get close enough for another Slider Fist onto the Tide, but in all honesty, it wouldn't have been enough anyway. Tavo has salved up. And while all that's happening, John, Costabile is still freely farming up and almost has that Sacred Relic up.
Yeah, I love seeing this coming out from him. He skips the Midas. He has casual Gloves of Haste, just in case, but he skips the Midas because he can. And once you have this early Radiance, you're going to have so much presence in the front. You're going to be able to join these fights a lot faster. 5ManMidas. We talk about this, but they need to play around these team fights that they can pull off. They went Yulet's SF. They need to smoke up and make something happen. Perhaps once you have level 6 and Steel Borko, it's easier, as you have the hook shot to initiate with, but as long as that's not up yet, you're not going to be able to find those clean angles. Maybe you find the supports, but they really don't mind because they're buying so much space out for their cores.
Akestar moves in with the smoke. 40 yard be a great target, but they miss.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Smoke rotation not working out. They're still going to try to spot out Tavo, but he's already cleared out the creep wave. In fact, Lies tried to steal it away, but he's not going to get any creeps. And now you've got a blink up on Tavo. So he's got some nice initiation on the Tide. And things are slowly but surely getting harder and harder here for 5ManMidas, as they are just lacking so much farm. And I suppose they are still within their own power spike with this SF Yules up, but they can't get a kill with it yet. Or maybe they can. 40R got caught with the spear.
Lies.
Arena down as well, but the lift out of this, they lift him out of the arena. Now Lies is in trouble. He'll get the Requiem off, but Tavo is just going to ravage him. They found another. Aches is going to go down. Monster, he's just hiding. Just pretend you're a tree, and they may not notice you're there. And they don't. SG Esports going to leave him be, but it's a 3-for-0 trade. All things going wrong in that team fight, John. I mean, it doesn't really matter that he lifted him out of the arena because he could have just remnanted it out anyway. But then you saw Lies also going down at Tavo, and it just doesn't feel good at all.
No, it was a mess. KJ got the silence off. That was the big issue. He got the silence off on the SF right before he ults KJ. So he got the ults off but couldn't use Requiem, and that was where it fell apart. They need the Requiem Arena combo to fly out, and if it doesn't line up, the team fight is so hard to take. SG Esports 8k up at 14 minutes in. That's a scary point. AFK farm and Costabile, he's got the Sacred Relic. Radiant's not too far off. They're playing around these Ravages and Exorcisms quite well. And 5ManMidas, they're forced to drag in DNM for damage. He does have his Maelstrom, but he is really taking the backseat on farm just to enable these movements.
Oh, Steel Borko trying to run away. 40R is just haunting them right now with this Ember. Got the Maelstrom up. That's Steel Borko gone.
Oh,
Not yet. He's alive. He wasted the hook shot, but he is alive. I guess you call that a positive.
Yeah, he did pop a smoke as well to dodge some damage. So you're down one smoke, but he has one ready to go. They do manage to find that bot T1 at last. DNM getting that job done. So they find their first tower, but they're running down.
Tavo luckily didn't have the blink off cooldown yet. Lies just trying to run away, and looks like he is going to make it out as the nighttime makes it so they can't see where the SF went. They assume he went up north, but that wasn't the case. Nevertheless, going up north themselves mean they can start securing this tier 2 top tower with these Serpent Wards up from Thea Lacour. In fact, never mind, they don't need that or the Exorcism. They're just going to force a glyph without it. And the worst part is the siege creep is probably going to stay alive.
Oh yeah. Oh.
40R. He does end up dying. A nice pickup there from 5ManMidas. They did have to commit quite a lot for that, but regardless, killing the Ember is going to feel nice. What's not going to feel nice is losing that tier 2 tower up top.
Yeah, it's a costly one to lose. They're still
Lies,
they've got
no.
an Invis here in top.
Lies, no, he gets ravaged immediately. Hook shot there from Borko. It's not going to help. The shackles out from Thea Lacour. Still DNM might be able to clean up. They get one life onto the Wraith King. Now they've got Thea Lacour. He drops the Serpent Wards onto the monster and traps him in. Exorcism was popped as well, but it looks like it's about time for SG to back off. In fact, it's 5ManMidas who are the ones that are getting out of there as 40R has respawned and joined the mid lane. I suppose KJ, with the rest of that exorcism, is just going to try and push in that mid tier 2 while he can. And he's actually going to be able to get a bit of chip damage off, which is kind of nice. It is only a level 1 exorcism. That'll be enough. They all back out.
Yeah, but they get to control this outpost sub 20 minutes in, so they're going to get that EXP injection if you're not careful. Maybe they catch out 4DR again, but he is fairly slippery, and looks like they're not going to find that angle, so they don't find a kill, although
they don't have reincarnation right now. Still a minute off, but he does make it out. They scan the Wraith King, but he is way too far to catch him, unless they predict his movement, which it looks like they may have. Costabile went back for a large camp, but he only uses the skeletons, so they can't catch him. They'll have to try and transition into the mid lane. It's not going to lead to anything, though. SG Esports seem to be well aware that this might be happening.
yeah, really good game sense coming out from SG Esports, because no one's coming back for this outpost. I think that's what they can tell. We're approaching the 20-minute mark. You want that EXP. No one is up there to contest. No one showing in the top jungle. So they're all playing bot towards the right side as well.
Oh,
and they can't even jump up to 40R.
Yeah, they're trying to get the lift, but they're just barely out of cast range. Costabile now more than happy to frontline for his team. So he has reincarnation back in 5 seconds. And it looks like SG Esports, they're ready to go for the mid-tier 2 now. They don't have exorcism for another 20 seconds, but I think just alone with the skeletons, you could just do it. You've got the serpent wards up as well, but I don't even think that's necessary.
No. I mean, it's down to about above half HP, just barely, so should be able to clear it out quite fast. They drop the wards to ensure it anyway. It's going to be a hard fight for 5ManMidas to want to go in. They can't even split push bot. They were shoving it out, but they can't really get that objective in exchange. So a clean tier 2 coming out for SG, second one of the game. And that does allow them to just take complete control of that top jungle now. Take control of the Roche if they want to. They get to keep that outpost on their end, so they get even more EXP. They've got an 11k gold lead. And 5ManMidas, they're slowly bleeding dry here. DNM is still keeping up in farm compared to, say, 4DR.
No. Monster. He missed the spear back on Costabile, and now he's just going to be run down. Hook shot out from Borko. Cogs pushback not going to be there.
Ooh, the crit.
Yeah, he gets crit as well. And Borko, he's going to place a tree down, try to fog themselves out. Aikster, meanwhile, does die to Tavo. Props to Borko. He gets Monster out of there safely.
Yeah, save your offlaner is a good find, although they're going to fight over these outposts.
They're going to try. Lies is in danger, though. 40R right on top. They'll go for the Requiem, but the Ravage and Hex is there. Just way too much control on SG Esports, and in all fairness to 5ManMidas, they do force out a Ravage that was unnecessary, as you had the Hex anyway, but I don't think they're going to mind if it means an SF kill.
No, they definitely don't. Tavo, look at this build, Mike. Straight into freaking overwhelming blink.
Overwhelming blink?
Yeah.
Wow.
Confident.
Why overwhelming blink, though? I mean, I guess you don't get swift blink on Tide, because that makes no sense.
Arcane is pretty darn nice on Tide, right? Like, the cooldown is so good. You blink Ravage anyway, but I guess they just want more damage and, you know, just more strength. He's going to be super tanky once he finishes that up.
Yeah, I mean, he should easily be able to get to over 3k HP once he has it up. Or maybe not 3k, but should be able to get up a bit. I think it's mostly just confidence.
Oh, yes.
He probably he probably knows it's not a great investment, but he's like, yeah, you know, I'm pretty sure we've won this game. I'll just buy an overwhelming blink. Because you kind of need to have a guaranteed game to even buy that item right now. It's just so pointless for the price.
Yeah, it really is. But the slow, I guess, the control, it's nice, and it will help you lock in the Weaver. That's actually a big one, right? Like you overwhelming blink in. If he doesn't have Shikuchi, he's really just stuck there. So you can just kind of find that kill. You do have the go-ahead. 14k lead for SG Esports, 11-7, and
AJ?
more.
He's been caught. He's going to siphon and try and survive a little bit longer, but ultimately the arena is down. So they do get themselves a position 5 kill. That's about all they get, and with the arena down, Costabile should feel very confident to go after that bottom tier 1 tower. But it looks like DNM is going to be around to try and dissuade him from doing so. I have a funny feeling that Costabile isn't going to mind the Weaver's presence. DNM's going to leave anyway. Just clearing out the wave, and that'll be enough for him.
Yeah, just trying to get farm where he can. Saving up for that BKB. DNM is just about 600 gold away, 600, 500 gold away. So once he has that up, he's going to be able to stand and fight a bit better. Issue is if he can find the targets. They still need to play with its Yule's combination on Lies, and we haven't seen it be a success yet. They're going to have to find the target to go for, and right now, the only feasible ones are either the Ember or the supports. Everyone else is just a bit too tanky for that burst.
Here come the wards and skeletons again from SG. They'll force out another glyph. It's kind of unfortunate that the tower doesn't really get the split shot on the wards. So they go onto the Mars now. Nice shackles there from Thea Lacour. Silenced up as well. Axe is going to drop first, and now Monster will go. Costabile going to go ahead and finish off that tier 2, and they pop the Exorcism. They want a tier 3 tower. I can't quite blame them, John. There's nothing stopping him. Tavo gets another kill by himself in the mid lane with the overwhelming blink. Apparently it is working out for him. And I think it's about that time you might want to call GG as 5ManMidas. I don't really see much of a way in coming back here in this game.
No, it's difficult. And Lies?
Requiem out, but Tavo literally just turns right
anything.
back around. He just turns around. DNM's going to be there with some follow-up, but there's your Ravage now onto 3 heroes and Eggstar. Trying to help. The Ravage is not going to be enough, but they go for more. Costabile going to run in onto Eggstar. He might just go onto Lies instead. They'll get the Rubik, and now the SF will die. Thea Lacour will go down as well on the Shaman. KJ may also be in a spot of danger. They drop the arena into the spear. DNM will get himself a triple kill, but so will 4DR. So fair enough, triple kill on the Weaver. Nice little gold influx. Is it going to be enough for him?
Not quite. It's a good amount of gold. I'm not sure how DNM wants to itemize now. I mean, he has his BKB, he has a nail strip, so there's some decent damage and frontlining durability there, but the Radiance Burn is causing issues in terms of misses. You are getting into the point where Costabile is almost done with his SNY. Another major spike for the Raid King. You do have the Yules up on the SF, but you need the Blink combination. You really need to jump these squishier targets. Like even the Ember, you could probably burn down, but he has the Linken's up. So even if you get this Blink up and get the Blink Yules onto 4DR, you need to break that Linken's first, and that complicates matters for 5ManMidas. They could easily look to go into the Roche now on the side of SG, and they do. They just jump in. They've got the durability up front. They can get the skeletons up if they want to. And 5ManMidas, there are opportunities to play here. They could try to hookshot, and Borko can scout out for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think Borko has to go for the steal. It's not easy to get, especially when you've got so many skeletons around to block your hookshot. He's going to try and go in from the back. But Thea Lacour has already read the movement, and they're just going to take him out. They've caught him. 4DR will go ahead and take it on the Ember. That'll be a guaranteed free Roshan now for SG Esports. And an immediate smoke here from 4DR and Thea Lacour. They're just going to start going for a team fight before the Aegis is even there.
No, just confidence. They know they can just jump around, get control. It's going to be a numbers advantage here for SG Esports, although...
Oh, Monster, he blinks right into them. Doesn't get anything off.
Tavo had to get that kill with the overwhelming blink. He's got to show it works.
Yeah, I mean, it does work, John. I'll give him that. Tavo is making the overwhelming blink look okay, but I don't think there's any way to make this item look really good right now, Jay.
No.
It's quite a pathetic kind of item, if I'm honest.
It's
really quite a sad blink for the price that it is set at.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's. I'd say it's only good in Centaur, but Centaur is also dead, so there you go. Still, hook.
Yep, Orko, he's dead. DNM gonna try and fight with this BKB, but it is forced to time lapse away. But they do actually kill off Theo Lacour on the back lines. Meanwhile, KJ dies to Lies, so bit of an overextension here from the supports, but now the Ravage is out from Tavo. That's going to be Lies gone. Onto the Rubik. Eggstar will be the next to die. DNM is trying to fight back on this Weaver. But how do you? Perhaps with Monster, with the Arena, he can try. Tavo is getting pretty low. Will turn around for a gush, but does die at the tide. But DNM is also going to go down. Now Monster, the only man left, is set to go down as well with the rest of his team. And they call GG. It's cost the Beelair. Does get an ultra kill now on the Wraith King. And I would say that was quite a dominant victory here for SG Esports.
Yeah, and they pull out the support DP. And they get the timings anyway. They get their levels up. We saw 5ManMidas. Their lanes were just not ideal. Clockwork Weaver has some potency, but it takes a while to cook up. And when you're up against these heroes on SG Esports end, the Tide into Weaver, you tend to depend on Sukuchi to clear those waves out. And every time you do, Tavo was just ready with the Anchor Smash. They had some early Sentry Wards as well to control that lane. So it wasn't the smoothest start for DNM as well. And even Lies, he had the Yules, but the silences from KJ initially in the bot lane just caused issues in revealing, and they couldn't play around that Yules Requiem. So they're going to have to reconsider that approach here for 5ManMidas. But SG Esports, they are the favorites, and for good reason. They looked amazing here in the first game.
They did. They made it look very easy. And we'll see if they can do it in game number 2. Of course, it is MLP johnxfire, and we'll be back in roughly 10 minutes for that second game draft.